in the lumbar spine. So if we could have our patient here, would you lie down on your back for me? The idea is we want to increase the volume of the lumbar spine, and in so doing, if the volume's increased, the pressure decreases, and then we open up the small holes so that the blood's allowed to flow in. Arterial blood into the cauda equina, venous blood out, and we'll try and move lymph fluid as well, and venous congestion. So we're going to put the patient in the flexion traction position, in the flex position. Just slide down towards me a little bit. Come down a little bit more. Come down a little bit more. So we're going to strap her just above the ASISs, just above the innominates, and just under the ribs. Now put your hands under the blanket here. I always have the hands under the blanket so it protects the ribs. We don't want to have a broken rib. This belt's very effective. It's 4 inches wide, and I found it's very effective for the stabilizing procedures we use in mechanical drainage of non-vascular edema. ASIS, just above the ASIS. Now we're going to tighten it up. I always look for the response from the patient as I'm doing these procedures, as I'm starting the procedures. You comfortable? You okay with this? Yep. I'd like to strap it a little bit more. I'd like to tighten it. Are you okay with me tightening it? Yep. Everything fine? Okay, you can bend this knee. Spinal stenosis in the lumbar canal. Tip off, low back or legs get worse with exercise. So notice my elbows are straight and I'm leaning back with my body. And if you look at her bum, you'll see it's coming off the table. So as I'm doing this, the lumbar spine is in flexion and traction, and the volume inside it increases. You okay with this? Yeah. With all these procedures, I'm loading her at end range now. When I'm at the end range, I have to hold that for a few seconds to allow the fluid enough time to move out, or in this case, to move in. Volume increased, arterial blood going in. It's all right if you slide a little bit. And come down towards me a little more. Quite often their ankles are sore in doing this procedure, so I'll change it as thus. Just keep your knees straight. And I'm underneath her knees here with my hands, and in my armpits I have the insteps, and then I just lean backwards like this. And as I lean backwards, you can see your bum's coming off the table, which means that lumbar spine's in traction. Pressure on, pressure off. Pressure on, pressure off. And you can bend your knees. I always monitor the patient's response during the procedure, so feel okay? Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily go to the complete end range to start. I might kind of go in a crescendo form, and as I approach the end range, I make sure they're okay, and then really at end range, I'm sure they're safe at that point. Could I do this procedure again? Sure. So I do it 3 or 4 times. You okay with that? Now the amount of flexion that I have, the angle of her thigh against the table, I can change that. I can change that depending on what the patient prefers. I can do it steeper or maybe not so steep. We're going to do a variation of this procedure now for central stenosis. Just bend your knees. And now again, my elbows are straight and I'm leaning back. And as you can see, it's a similar procedure. But this time, the angle, the legs aren't up as high as they were before. Pressure on, pressure off. I can introduce some bias into the traction. Instead of being straight, I might want to come over here a little bit. Opens up one side more than the other. Conversely, over to the patient's left. Opens up one side more than the other. If somebody has stenosis, every stenosis case is a little bit different, which means the treatment position is a little bit different. The way we can tell the exact position for the individual is their response. I might find, for example, with her, the only way that the stenosis, this procedure is going to help the blood flow into her cauda equina might be to the side. The only way I can tell is try a few procedures and see which one she likes the best.